Good morning and welcome 5 minutes late to the AutoTalk weekly wrap. I'm Richard Edwards, Graham McDonald, David Crawford. You know who we are. Let's
Morning.
get on with the day. We promised ourselves a short one, so it'll be an hour.
The bullshit is strong on this one, Dave, I'm afraid, guys.
And I'm actually in my new cave, and when I say cave, wall. It's not big. It's not big.
You should just go for the professional look and put some little soundproofing right around you so it looks like you're in a professional studio.
I'm going to put some soundproofing in here because my daughter's bedroom's on that side, and sometimes I like to work late at night. Trying to keep her awake. Everything. We've got 2 people watching in the live stream. Say hello in the comments. We will do our best to see if you say anything. That would be great. And we can respond. We're pretty active here. Yes, and how is everyone?
Another week in retail fun day every day. So I'll say that I think there's been, I said it last week, the market's seen a little bit of a lift, I think, in our neck of the woods and our particular trade. No one's out there buying champagne or helicopters either, but there's definitely been a little bit of an uptick in people, and eventually, people lends itself to business. So I don't think it completely sucks. It's been such a funny year for retail, and every week you think you're doing better, and then you have another week or two where it's as if people just stayed away on purpose. It is so hard to read, but I think the sentiment is that there's a little bit more activity. Is it a polite way of saying things are slightly better?
I'm hearing similar things. Yes.
It's not great.
Good morning, Mick from Blenheim. How are those sales down there? Are you selling anything? Hopefully you are. Are you
sunny Blenheim? Should be.
We have had some. It's been a weird thing, isn't it? Last few days, just amazing weather interspersed with torrential rain. So who knows?
It's a gorgeous day outside right now and sunny. In fact, it's actually a blue sky, not a cloud on the sky out here in West Auckland. So it's, in theory, good retail sales weather. Everybody in the vehicle trade loves a nice day. It just brings people out. So
yeah. Now, David, I was at a publishers conference day before yesterday, and we had a QM economist there, and they showed a map of regional activity, and basically Wellington and Palmerston North were the worst 2 places to be in the country. How's it feeling in Wellington?
Yeah, that would be correct. It's with the motorcycle group that I started and belong with, we have a monthly dinner, and we have no trouble just rocking up to any old restaurant without having to book. At the moment, it's very quiet. I was out on my motorbike yesterday in the Wairarapa. There wasn't a lot of things happening. I just think it's really quite quiet down this end of the island, and certainly Wellington is facing headwinds of slower economic activity through government departments. When there's money flowing into government departments, consultants have a lot of work, and when consultants have a lot of work, the cafes have a lot of work, and it's just not there at the moment.
Yes. It's interesting out there, but let's hopefully the green shoots start to spread. Hopefully the government doesn't allow for any more government staff. That would make it easier for everyone, or at least do it quietly. Don't tell anyone about it. That's worse. It's confidence. It's not so bad doing it. It's telling people about it, right? That's my position at the moment.
I think in the infrastructure sector, so up in Auckland, obviously, which tends to be the hotbed of the current look around infrastructure spend, I've got a couple of 3 friends involved in various aspects of some of the things that are going to happen, and they just start to finally talk about the fact that the money's now going to start flowing through. These projects are actually going to start moving from just pieces of paper onto actual stages of things occurring. Tenders are starting to be tenders lists being drawn down. And we're going to see a bit more, well, actually a lot more activity in that sense. And I guess the current government is really hopeful that these projects can move from being pieces of paper to beyond the spade, and we can start to see that employment cycle start back up again, whether it's the people that do the actual heavy stuff of making things work through to all the different other people in the background when it comes to planning, design, logistics. And so there's a bit of a sense that we're just about to get to that point where going to need people to do stuff again.
Yeah, I think in Wellington, part of the issue is that Wellington City Council have got the so-called Golden Mile workaround. So there's a lot of stuff happening in and around the CBD. And unfortunately, and I'm going to sound like a boomer here, unfortunately, the consequence of that is that streets close down due to work. And then when it's finished, there's only about a third of the parking left that was there prior. So there's not a lot of parking space. You take away parking from a shopping precinct, you don't have to be a rocket scientist to know what's going to happen. And what parking is left is expensive. And so people are just saying, hell, it's going to cost me $30 just for a few hours to park. And while I go shopping, I'm going to forget that. I'll just go out to Porirua or the Hutt Valley where everything's a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Well, we will see. Now, I have a plan, guys. We have never had a Christmas function for this podcast. We have my little Auto Media Group one, but you guys never come along. And I think we need our own Christmas outing for the AutoTalk Weekly Wrap. I think you guys deserve it. And I thought, well, what should we do for this? We need something classy, something adult, something mature. Maybe a few beverages. What do you reckon?
Here we go. Oh,
what do you reckon?
I'm in. Take me now.
You'd be up for it, wouldn't you, David? You'd be up for riding up for some monster trucks, blowing fire.
Is the Pope Catholic, Richard? Of course.
Given the sponsorship of it, and given that you probably by now, if you don't know that I'm a serious diecast collector in the Hot Wheels genre in New Zealand, I'm considered to be what's called a whale in the Hot Wheels scene. We knew all about this. That I think there's a very loose association with the brand and the actual. But come on, who doesn't like a monster truck, right?
I think it's been noticed there. The Wellington edition is sponsored by the Kia Tasman. Impressive.
No, I'm not going to say
it. Be argued it's the truck.
Quiet, Graham. Quiet. Say nothing.
The actual Kia Tasman is officially launching in New Zealand today. It's being launched down in Wellington.
Late news on that one. There's a couple of them parked down the road for sale. Have been for quite some time from me right now.
Been around for a while. I drove one months ago. It's just official launch. You know how it goes. It's a good truck. It is a good truck. Go and be like 27,000 other people and watch my review video from Korea on AutoTalk. Sorry, on the AutoCar, NZ AutoCar YouTube channel.
Well, let's have our first disagreement of the day, Graham. I watched an independent comparison put out by some Australian dudes who sort of independently review various vehicles. So they compared the Triton, the Hilux, the Ford, and the Tasman, and put it through 3 different tests. So off-road testing, usability testing, and I forget what the other one was. And guess which one came out on top?
It could taste like pumpkin pie.
A great-looking truck called a Tasman.
I'm sure it's a really good truck.
The exterior looks polarizing. It's definitely a lot better in person.
And it's great inside, but yes, outside is polarizing. I, for one, kind of like it, but then my tastes often tend to be in the minority. So,
but inside, it's the best interior in the market. You can argue in regards to the engine. It is small for that part of the market. It's kind of mid-range, but look, I think it's about the offering. I know
it's mated to. Yeah, it's mated to a really good gearbox, though, Richard. I think that's what helps with it. But yes, it's not going to set the world on fire. But in terms of the interior and what it does and the tray and other things, it's quite well built.
Yeah, it's very well built. It feels incredibly well built quality-wise. The interior is nuts. People watching, what do you think of the Kia Tasman? Is it smash or pass? I can't remember what the dodgy term is these days.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dodgy pass, Richard, there, but a bit of a dodgy term. But So there's two markets. There's the thinking between the fleet buyers and the fleet guys that organising it for their teams. They're looking at the whole of package. David's probably absolutely right. It's probably an exceptional product in terms of how it functions, what it does, the interior. But on the other hand, there's old guys like me who did actually buy my own truck and likes trucks. I don't currently have a truck, but I might have another truck one day. But I look at things like how the truck looks. And, well, let's move on to the next subject, shall we?
There's been plenty of great-looking vehicles, Graham, that you would never in a million years buy.
I absolutely know this. And I've been a sucker for some wonderful-looking cars in my time that have been just beautiful. And under the skin, I know are just ruinous in every respect. Hey, who here has a bit of a quiet thing for the odd, 70s, 80s Italian car, for example? Exactly. Point taken.
Yeah. The greatest Italian car of all time is the Alfa Romeo Arna, right? You get Nissan and Alfa Romeo together to do a car. You take the Nissan styling and the Italian electronics.
I always had a penchant for a Fiat 124 CC coupe with the 1800 twin cam and the Chromadora alloys, and the 5-speed, but I just couldn't find one that would stop rusting fast enough for me to put a deposit on it that was consequential with the amount of vehicle that I got between that and the time I picked it up.
If we're talking Italians, and people out there listen to this, if you ever see one in remotely warrantable condition, call me immediately. The first press car I ever drove, the first day I started the job as a young 20-year-old, Fiat Multipla.
A what? Fiat Multipla.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on from that, because
I think we should move on from that really quickly. Actually,
one more little off-topic thing before we go in. I'm going to play a video. Hopefully it works. There's no audio, so don't panic about that. Nice Tesla Model Y there with a trailer behind it. Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep, watching this. Yep.
I mean, far too big a truck to go on that trailer.
Yes. Run, Forrest, run.
Anyway, and you bet what? There'll be someone in the comments somewhere saying, "Oh, it's because Teslas can't tow." No, that's just idiocy. Anyway, right. Moving on. Now, vehicle spending hits a 14-month high. Motor vehicle sales with a stand-up from New Zealand retail in July, with spending rising at $10 million or 5.2% from June to reach $203 million, the highest monthly total in more than a year. Stats and figures show the season just July result was the strongest since May last year, when spending hit $209 million. The motor vehicle category, which excludes fuel, posted the largest month-on-month percentage increase of the 6 retail industries tracked. That's about it for that. That's not much for that story, but interesting to see that the numbers are creeping up a little bit. And that's the month after the big field days lump as well. We actually had a kind of a 2-month field days this year. It was quite interesting and appealing. So, yeah, we've kind of discussed that one already and it's just saying that there are some hints out there. But, yeah. Hey, we're all about confidence, right? So we should be saying, it's great. Keep going.
Yeah, I think so. We talked about at the start of the show. There's a little bit of a lift. I can't speak for those of you that are in the new vehicle retail space, but from people that I do chat to, I've heard that it doesn't suck. So that sort of gives you a pretty good indication of a little degree of confidence. And again, we're talking about the uptick in infrastructure, for example. I think we're starting to see the waves of companies involved in some of these larger projects now starting to source the people, the vehicles that they need to make these work, because we divested ourselves of an awful lot of that sort of 3, 4, 5 years ago, we just got rid of all the stuff. And there's now a need to, and not just vehicles, but everything involved in the construction sector. And we're starting to see that now flow back in again to get these next projects on board.
Interesting little note, something that we discussed. We actually discussed this back when you mentioned construction there, when Clean Car Standard was all coming together. Clean Car Discount. We have one of the major 2 or 3 construction companies doing a project in the middle of town at the moment. And you would used to drive past those. We discussed it when the Walk with Motorway was being built. You'd end up with a car park full of white JDEC Toyota Hiluxes or Rangers with the signage on the side, parked up while everyone was working for the day. The car park at this one, not a single Ranger or Hilux in it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Entirely replaced with RAV4 hybrids. So interesting on that one. So, yeah. Anyway, right.
Yet the Ranger numbers, the Ranger and Hilux sales numbers, don't seem to be showing any. I mean, as a percentage of fleet, with the exception of the BYD Shark numbers that were exceptional for its launch period, don't seem to be showing any marginal change as a percentage of whole of utes being sold. So I don't think Ford or Hilux are terribly worried yet.
Yeah.
It's still a waiting list, I understand, for Hilux and Ford. Their numbers vary a little bit based on the shipments that are coming in, but no, I'm not expecting them to go down. What I am expecting is number 3 to play around a little bit. So the competition between BYD, Nissan, and Mitsubishi play around. And then you've got some of the other Chinese utes starting to come on, which represent quite good value for money. So as long as people start to see good dependability start to come into them, then I expect the mix to really be shaken up in the next 2 to 3 years.
Well, if you want to see the mix get even crazier, and we've said this before, there's no great secret to it. BYD is going to have 2 more utes in the next 3 years. Like, not replacing, they'll have a range of 3 utes. It'll be very interesting. Very interesting. So, yeah, they don't consider Shark 6 as their Hilux competitor. They're going to do another vehicle for that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, intriguing. Anyway, where are we? Ford New Zealand's recently hired marketing director Matthew Slade has now been appointed to the governance board for the National Vehicle Sales Company. He joins fellow colleagues Annalise Atina, the managing director, and Linda Nguyen, the finance director, on the board. Slade is the second appointee to the Ford New Zealand governance board in less than 6 months. He replaces former Ford New Zealand Network Strategy Director Cameron Thomas, who recently left the National Sales Company to take up the role of New Zealand Country Manager for the GWM brand. Thomas was appointed to the governance board in February 2025 as a replacement for longtime sales director Jerry Delaney. Slade and his family returned to New Zealand in February 2025 after living abroad since 2012. He's one to watch, Mr. Slade. I think he's a very fast mover in that company, and be interesting to see where he ends up. And probably, I would say, somewhat of a stressful job being at the top of Ford. They've got, that great market position, but when you're at the top, you got to stay there. Very difficult to stay there. So,
well, they're on the cusp of potentially great change, aren't they, in terms of their model lineup? You sort of think of, I wouldn't say the Ranger is in the sunset era yet. I think there's a long way to go in that particular platform genre for them. But if you look at what Ford has coming up behind it, I think this is going to be a real time of transition for them over the next 5 years, or potentially even 10, about the offerings. And I see your next story, which kind of alludes to that.
Well, split that up the order, really, isn't it? They've discussed this week the Ford Universal EV platform. And look, this is a wee way away, but some would argue that, I think we all agree that electrification is inevitable. It's the pace at which it happens that's up for debate. So the fact that this isn't happening overnight is probably a good thing, but they've basically said that they're going to invest a lot of money in this new vehicle platform. Their first vehicle off, it's going to be a mid-sized 4-door electric pickup with a starting target price of $30,000 US. It basically it's going to charge fast, lots of range, LFP batteries, so really durable batteries, cheap batteries essentially. They're showing what that platform can do. So that could be Ford's future. In fact, I actually think it's the future for all of the American manufacturers. I ultimately think that it's going to be America and China well down the track ultimately on good electric vehicles. You look at the best electric vehicles in the world now, they are either the Chinese or the Tesla, which is American. And the other stuff we've seen come out of America is great. The Mach-E is a good electric car. The Ford F-150 Lightning, a good electric vehicle. The stuff that General Motors is doing, General Motors is dominating the electric vehicle market in America at the moment. You wouldn't know it from here. But some of their stuff on their Ultium platform shares the same technology you see in the Cadillac Lyriq is really good. So I do think that, the American companies are going to get a long way down the track on that.
There is
but essentially what you're talking about there, a $30,000 US mid-sized pickup. Essentially, we're talking about a $65,000 electric Ranger.
Yeah, and $30,000 in the States doesn't buy you a whole lot these days. That's not so. As long as they can actually maintain a price point close to that, because of course we know how the American market has had a bit of a habit recently of significantly over-promising when it comes to retail projection numbers on spend versus delivery. So the key is going to be in the delivery. Now, just a little side point to that. There was a lot of photos doing the rounds on social media of an F100 lookalike, an EV F100 lookalike with a camper shell, and looked absolutely amazing. And I'm not sure if it's an AI rendition of something that'll never happen, or it was Ford themselves pumping one out, but it looked absolutely incredible. I thought, man, if anyone's watching this right now in America thinking, I could have me one of those, because that really was the quintessential high watermark for Ford.
Are you talking about the Illuminator?
I didn't see a name.
Was that a classic F100 with an electric drivetrain in it, or was it a?
Well, it was a modern take on an F100 with electric drivetrain, and it looked sensational. Yeah. And I just don't know if it's because these days it's really hard to tell. Was it AI puffery, or was it a tease from Ford about potential?
Ford have done a F100 concept. It was part of their launch of the Illuminator crate motor. They sell an electric crate motor basically to go into old school Fords, basically. So it's part of promoting that. Yes, that. Right. Let's move on because we're cracking on for time. Wellington dealer and landlord in a $127,000 rent dispute. A long-running dispute between a Wellington car dealer and his landlord over alleged unpaid rent and a forged lease has escalated to the High Court. Allegedly, forged lease has escalated to the High Court. Lower Hutt dealer David Scott is facing action from the Patel Family Trust, which claims he owes more than $127,000 in arrears dating back to 2012. The trust, run by brothers Manish and Salish Patel, says a formal lease was signed in May 2012, setting rent at $2,833 plus GST per month, with a 10% default interest rate. The trust alleges Scott regularly underpaid rent, with the debt mounting over more than a decade. He disputes the claim, saying there was never a valid lease. The draft lease he provided the brother's father was electronically altered to include forged signatures and terms. Forensic handwriting and document examiners engaged by Scott's legal team have reportedly found a strong probability his signature was fabricated. He's been locked out. Vehicles, tools, and equipment left on the premises were damaged or stolen, and he was seeking to have the lease declared invalid and have the landlord's claim dismissed, and is pursuing compensation of up to $1.85 million for his losses.
Just a mess. The whole thing's a mess, and it's a classic case of he said, she said. It's not going to get resolved without a team of very expensive lawyers litigating it for quite some time. The only comment I will make was back in 2012, even $2,800 plus GST per month for a lease on commercial property. I want some of me that.
Yes. Right. Mitsubishi Motors New Zealand promotes from within to strengthen leadership team. Mitsubishi Motors New Zealand has made 4 key internal appointments as part of its strategy to strengthen national operations and boost dealer performance. The changes see Tom Wiley appointed head of vehicle sales and operations, Nathan Thomas as head of after sales, Steve Blackmore as technical services manager, and Elliot Gill as senior technical advisor. The company says the move reflects its commitment to recognizing and developing talent from within, an approach that builds deep product knowledge, strengthens dealer relationships, and preserves its family culture. I also imagine, though, sitting down in Wellington away from the rest of the industry, you probably do need to put a little more effort into nurturing your own talent. It's not like it's easy to swap and change with other car makers, and bed hop, as we've seen a little bit of lately in the New Zealand market. So great to see.
Having said that, I think you're probably right, Richard. But my recollection of how Mitsubishi operates over the years that I was in the industry is that they are very focused on growing talent within the company. They have a good rotation policy. They bring them in, build them up, train them up, rotate them around, and I think that breeds a degree of confidence in succession within the company. The only risk if you rely solely on that, and I know that they don't, but if you rely solely on that, then you don't bring in fresh eyes, you don't bring in new ideas that you can glean from other places. But it's good to see. It's good to see growth within the company and the opportunities.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. And a great bunch of guys with that amazing ceiling. You must have been in the offices, David. You seen the ceiling?
Yes. Oh, yeah, I've been there quite a few times. Yes. Yeah, I know.
Reminds me of the ceiling from like old 747s. Big plastic kind of mold paneling everywhere.
Well, it was the old rebuild it after knockdown factory.
Yes, exactly. Right, moving on to Twitter launching the second phase of Let's Go Places campaign. And it's the campaign's one thing. They're shifting towards mobility and all that kind of stuff. Lots of talk. I've been talking about lots of mobility talk for several years. See how we go with that. But interestingly, kind of leaning on this point that so 1 in 4 cars on the road pretty much now is a Toyota, which is pretty darn impressive. And of course, they joke with their thing is you pull up to an intersection and all the cars at the intersection are Toyotas. And there's a reality to that. There are a lot of Toyotas on the road. I had an interesting thought about this one, Graham, and I flicked a message over to the powers that be at VIA. They said they need to put a cheeky press release out to follow this saying, hey, look, the import industry is responsible for putting all of these Toyotas on the road.
Yes.
And kind of noting their part in that big cultural icon that Toyota is. So yeah, interesting one on that.
Toyota does lead the list consistently when it comes to product in the top 10 imports, but it's also no small significant coincidence that in Japan, Toyota also lead the sales numbers by a great degree of significance, and
yes.
And that translates to what we see here in New Zealand too. Since the New Zealand import market is just a slice of what's available in Japan, stands to reason there are more Aquas, there are more Priuses, there are more Corollas, all that sort of stuff on the road in Japan. Ergo, moving to the auction systems, that will also have access to. But I would say, for the sake of, I'm not a Toyota fanboy, don't take it the wrong way. I love the Toyota product, but they're here because they're good cars and they've proven consistently. And now I've been in this industry, I started in 1988 as my first year, and I'll say that consistently the Toyota product has been the best of the used product I have ever dealt with for longevity and reliability and the things that dealers look to, because we don't want to be paying for things going wrong 6 months to a year down the track. So we look at it and we say, what's the best value for the consumer and for us? And they're usually hand in hand. So well done, Toyota. 1 in 4 is not a bad achievement.
And when you look at the new vehicle market, so if you roll Lexus in with Toyota, given that they're produced from the same company, they're consistently around about 23 to 24% of all new vehicle sales year on year.
Mm-hmm.
And Lexus as a brand constantly is rated as the most reliable vehicle, particularly in the US when they do the consumer surveys. But everybody knows, if you're going to buy, 2 Japanese brands are recognized for their longevity and reliability, and it's Toyota and Honda. But Toyota is the ubiquitous car. It's good value for money. They've got a range of product, and they've got an exceptionally good network to support it.
And people know it. Look, I simple. Go to the New Zealand Autocar YouTube channel after this and subscribe. I've got a video going on Sunday night where I review the new Prado. The new Prado is not cheap. The one that I drove was the Adventure. It's second to top. It's $104,000, right? You can get
pricey.
the top line bells and whistles, V6 diesel platinum Ford Everest, which has more space, more of everything for what are we looking at? $12,000 less. But people will buy the Prado in their droves because they want that Twitter badge. They want that Twitter reliability. I'm not saying the Ford isn't reliable, but the impression of reliability for the Prado, and they'll overlook a lot of stuff to get that. So yeah, interesting one. Right. Now,
I was going to say, Twitter and Pumpster are watching this right now going.
Now,
hello,
we have a video on the website. Tesla testing full self-driving in Auckland streets. Now, I still remain incredibly cynical about the full capabilities of any full self-driving system, but Tesla says they're getting close. They've released a video showing its full self-driving supervised system in operation on Auckland streets following similar testing in Sydney in recent weeks. They signed the long wait for the technology in New Zealand and Australia may be over. The company has been working on the local authorities in both countries, and that there are no regulatory barriers to the rollout. We've been working with local authorities across Australia and New Zealand. There are no regulatory blockers for release. We are running through the final stages of validation prior to public release, looking to start with HW4 on certain vehicles and then release in phases from there. So final stage of validation. Yeah, interesting. I don't think we're talking about cyber taxis in New Zealand yet, but certainly things are moving forward.
So while they're watching this, I've publicly stated on a number of occasions that I don't think Tesla is correct in the way in which they are categorizing and labeling their levels of autonomy. There is a worldwide system for autonomy, and full autonomy is level 5, which means it can go anywhere, anytime on any type of road in automatic mode, and we are a long way from that. So at best, they're really advanced level 3 or breaking on the door of level 4 autonomy. They're only can work really well in urban areas where there is really good systems for the navigational support required, the signals required to tell the car where it is to centimetre accuracy. So I think it's an oversell in terms of capability, and I've long had a jaundiced view about any car company for that matter who's promoting full autonomy when I know it's a long way away.
So I spent about 1,800 kilometers in a new Model Y with their Navigant Autopilot, which is kind of the stage before this recently, and it was actually a lot better than that, David. It was able to deal with a lot when it came to imperfect road markings, imperfect traffic signals, all those kind of things. It used that visual system, so it's using AI essentially to read stuff and work it all out. But then when it started pissing down on the Waikato Expressway, it said, "Oh, I can't see anymore, so I can't work." Whereas if you had a vehicle with LiDAR could continue to work in those conditions. So the fact that my only issue with Tesla is they've chosen the full camera system. If they went with some additional sensors, to cover all bases, I would be more willing to work with it.
But that's my point, Richard. Full autonomy requires redundancy and capability. So you've got to have a minimum of 2 systems operating all of the time to be able to give you that, being able to drive on any road in any condition on any service as long as it's a legal road. Because we know where the legal roads are, they're all digitized. But it's getting the signal to the car so that it can know where it is. And it's either camera-based or LiDAR-based, preferably both. So... but auto drive, that's a clever use of the term because that's not saying that it's fully autonomous. What it's saying is it's an auto drive in terms of the capability of going where it can go. But yes, they are getting better, and I expect the autonomous capability to continue to improve. But until the vehicles come out with dual systems for redundancy, it's an oversell to say that they're fully autonomous, in my opinion, based on the international definitions of autonomy.
Well, we can discuss this again next week because I have been invited to Australia by Tesla for a surprise experience that may or may not, they honestly haven't told me, be trying out this. So we'll see what it's like next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, here we go from there. And funny that you mention it, and I want to make this clear that this case that we're putting in front of you now is not the fault of Tesla's. This is a missell by a used car dealer. The Tesla buyers win refund after dealer misrepresented full self-driving capabilities. The motor vehicle's future rentals ordered the Auckland dealer, Boss Plus Limited, to refund more than $47,000 to 2 customers after finding the business misled them about a Tesla Model 3's full self-driving features. Where are we? They were told that it had Tesla's full self-driving package, including a traffic light and stop sign control. The tribunal found that the dealer heavily promoted these features via text message and conversation, describing the car as able to drive like a robot, and attributing part of the higher price to the inclusion of FSD. After sale of the bicycle, the vehicle at Japanese import only had autopilot, enhanced autopilot, with no option to enable the missing function through Tesla. They also found it could not be changed charged at all in New Zealand stations because it's Japanese market connector, and Tesla New Zealand confirmed no factory-supported CCS adapter was available. There are aftermarket ones that are usable. So, yeah, an interesting one there. That case, though, doesn't actually argue the point of whether full self-driving is full self-driving. That one there is a case that is actually more interesting in the longer term, and that we're entering the period now where cars can have features on subscription. And that car, so full self-driving on Tesla is an added subscription, well, not subscription, an added software purchase. You buy that software as part of the deal, or you can have it or not. David's had to go. And that one there, it's a case, so the car may have at some point had that, but when it moved to New Zealand, it got sold, it didn't have it. So, yeah, be interesting to see if we have cases in the future where, say, someone, I think there's BMWs and Audis and stuff that have had in some countries optional lighting or seat heaters and that kind of stuff that's turned on non-bus subscription. Dealers have to be really careful to make sure that what they say is on a car, even if it's physically there, actually functions at the time of purchase.
I think this is potentially a minefield for the industry coming forward. As you say, dealers need to be really aware going forward about the future capacity of these vehicles as marketed to them. For example, if you're importing from Japan, about what you're being provided with in specification from Japan and how relevant it is towards the New Zealand marketplace. It could well have a lot of different functionality in its home market. And Tesla's been well known amongst the trade for quite some time for being, let's just say, not particularly helpful when it comes to the specification changes from Japan to New Zealand. And there's going to be more of these cases coming on forward.
Yeah, oh, exactly. Yeah, so interesting one there. Keep an eye on that. That's why we look at the tribunal stuff, because that kind of interesting thing pops up. It's not necessarily about the this case that we think it is. Right, run through the last couple of stories quickly. David's had to go. Vani appoints national sales manager for automotive. Vani appoints appointed Jared D'Urneville. I pronounced that right. In the newly created role of national sales manager for its growing automotive division, with a strong focus on providing tailored finance solutions through a national network of introducers. They say the automotive lending division is gaining momentum. He's spent time in several senior sales and sales management positions across automotive, energy, and FMCG sectors. So great to have his experience in the industry. Farmer Auto Village opens new service centre in Tauriko, suburb of Tauranga. There you go.
You had to ask, right?
I need to learn my Tauranga geography better. The company says the new facility offers the same trusted service in a convenient location with private and fleet customers in the Tauriko and Lakes areas. Covers off a multitude of brands, because that's what it tends to be in smaller towns. So you go Nissan, Volkswagen, Audi, Skoda, Subaru, Jeep, Ram, Cupra, MG, Haval, GWM, Roller Team, and Fiat Professional. There you go.
I think of Tauranga as certainly the seashore side. It's almost like the Florida of New Zealand, isn't it? It's the higher proportion, allegedly, of retired and cashed up and moneyed people, particularly on the beachfront real estate that opened up towards the sort of Papamara and almost creeping down towards Te Puke, and probably a very, very good marketplace to be in if you're in that new vehicle sector.
It's Hamilton by the sea, Graham. That's how I'm going to be. It's Hamilton by the sea.
I'm not sure everyone across the mount would agree with you there, Richard, but well done. I'll stick with Florida without the Mar-a-Lago.
A few senior car dealers have rather nice apartments in Mount Maunganui, just to know. The rest of my case. PHEV drive July's lift in NZ's electrified vehicle market. New Zealand's electrified vehicle market gained ground in July, with plug-in hybrid vehicles taking a larger price section in recent months. Plug-in hybrid vehicles and hybrid vehicles accounted for 40% of all new light vehicle registrations in July. Petrol hybrids dominated, taking 24.5% of the market, followed by 6.4% PHEV and BEV 5.5%. PHEV is kind of a class that we've all criticised at some point, but it seems to be kicking along pretty well at the moment, especially when you get some pretty serious range PHEVs coming out of China for like $42,000 for the new Chery PHEV. So yeah, interesting to see there. BYD Shark obviously doing very well in a big chunk of those sales.
Yeah, that's a big chunk of it.
We're seeing electrified vehicles just slowly.
I think my personal take, I think it's mischievous at best and it's misleading at worst to include hybrid vehicles, as they seem to have been a bit of a catch up to put in the numbers bag to classify hybrids as electrified vehicles. For the longest time,
that's unfair when we break it down in like the second paragraph, Graham. It's just the reason why I think a lot of this is being discussed at the moment is that electrified vehicles are now over half the market. Essentially,
if you include hybrids, yes. If you exclude hybrids, I'm not having a crack here at electrified vehicles or hybrids for that matter. I just think it's disingenuous to consider a sealed circuit hybrid, if you like. So you still put petrol into the tank as being an electrified vehicle. I think the consideration should be energy derived from an alternate source than the fuel Bowser. I think for the longest time, hybrids were not even considered to be electric vehicles in any way, shape, or form. But suddenly, when it comes to, if you like, boosting the numbers, it appears that hybrids have suddenly been put into the glad bag as a measure of proclaiming to the public how well electric vehicles are selling. Well, and again,
I remember 5 years ago when everyone was like, "I bought an electric car, I bought a Prius."
So here's the rub, Graham. Here's the rub, because I tended to agree with you. I made a definition for many years, going right back to my time with the Ministry of Transport, about plug-in vehicles versus non-plug-in vehicles. And then when the early work was done pre-CCS and CCD, officials created a definition of EVs. And it was it muddied the water and everything then got confused. And then when we sat down, industry sat down, Lloyd Robertson was there with myself, somebody from VIA, I think it was Kit probably, along with officials, and it was a 2-hour meeting, and 2 hours of our life we'd never get back. And they were arguing about classification for entry into the motor vehicle register. In the end of 2 hours, they said, let's adopt the definition that the Motor Industry Association has. And then after that, it muddied the water because suddenly a particular brand that now has about 25% of the market decided to call their hybrid vehicles electric vehicles. And it really peeved off those that had a plug. So where it's got to now is an electric vehicle is considered a vehicle that is when it can be compelled by electric-only motors with no petrol motor operating. So technically, the Skyline 350 GT that my wife drives, it can go about 2 or 3 Ks on an electric motor. And so somebody would call that an electric car. We don't. We call it a hybrid. And I tend to prefer electric vehicles being those vehicles that you have to plug in to get an external exhaust, or then it gets tricky because now you get the range extenders where you've got a petrol motor that drives and charges the battery, and it's electric motor that drives the wheel. So you cannot have a really neat definition anymore. So your super hybrids and super plug-in, super PEVs, and it's the super PEVs that are going to really take the market by storm, I think, in the next 5 to 6 years. That's how they operate.
Especially considering so you're talking what we classify as range extenders. The kind of super hybrids as such that I see as the new, like, bigger battery plug-in hybrids, right? You go back to the original, say, plug-in hybrid Toyota Prius, 5, 6, 7 kilowatt batteries, 30, 40K range, blah, blah, blah. The new stuff coming through from China, 100 to 150K of range, so very much within daily use range. And massive. So, as Kara mentioned before, we've got a video again on the AutoTalk YouTube channel that's just gone up, where we drive the new Cherry Tiggo 7 and 8 PHEVs.
Yeah.
They're only selling them as PHEVs in New Zealand. $42,000. And it'll do 1,200 kilometers on a 60-litre tank of gas. Now, look, say what you want about the quality of certain Chinese brands of Cherry. We are back into the days of seeing just crazy value cars out of that market. Not necessarily cheap cars, but crazy value cars. Yet to see what they'll be like, but certainly intriguing to see the market goes. I would note we use the term electrified on that, and that's what I tend to use. I do think we should bring everyone into the house, so to speak. But I don't think you should call a hybrid. I think you should call a hybrid an electric car. I don't think you should call a PHEV an electric car, but they all run under the banner of electrified, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. The difference, though, is a PHEV, a good PHEV anyway, if the owner's not traveling long distances, can actually be operated as an electric car over a long, sustained period. If you've got a super PHEV with a range of 120 to 150 kilometers as a pure EV, you may not see a petrol station for months, potentially longer. And again, I come back to the definition around if the vehicle's propulsion is derived in part by an alternate means than where we pay our excise tax currently at the petrol pump. And I know that springs off all the arguments about RUC. That is not an electrified vehicle. It's merely a differing means of obtaining propulsion via a petrol or diesel engine.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you, but there are, yes, it's a tricky one, and I know this one from my time in the industry. And I'll just put up two cars as a comparison, Graham. So the 2008 Honda Civic that my daughter drives is a hybrid vehicle, and the Nissan 350 Skyline is a hybrid vehicle. Only one of those can drive on electric motors, and that's the Nissan. The 2008 Honda, it gets great fuel economy, but will never run on electric battery only. The hybrid system is there.
The old IMA system.
So Richard's term about electrification is right. Where I sort of get frustrated, and again, I'm going to throw a brickbat at Toyota, is they shout about their mild hybrids has been electrified. Well, that's just nonsense because there's never any propulsion of the wheels by a mild hybrid. Mild hybrid is there to offload some of the load driving electrics and air conditioning and other bits and pieces, and maybe to help with some initial acceleration from zero. But it's not really electrified. It's just a big battery car.
I'll be controversial here. That Prado with the hybrid system, and the same goes with the Hilux, it saves so little on CO2, it causes, certainly in the Prado, so much compromise when it comes to interior space that I reckon most buyers would be happier just paying the goddamn CO2 fee.
See, by your definitions, a modern vehicle with a stop-start system is technically speaking a hybrid, is technically also speaking an electrified vehicle, because a mild hybrid, as you've just been alluding to, David, is effectively a glorified stop-start system, as most vehicles now have in terms of emission equipment.
They are to an extent.
No,
they do also add torque to the system during a period of high emissions in the engine. So there is a slight difference, but
slight difference. Yeah. But I don't really call them an electrified vehicle. To me, they have to be a minimum of a hybrid vehicle to do that. You've got to see. You've got to see about 15% savings, otherwise it's not worth it. And most hybrids will easily do 15 to 20% saving over the ICE equivalent. So that's where they come in. But it's the the plug-in hybrid electric vehicles with the 100 to 130k range, they are the stepping stone to full electrification. And I think we probably always will see for quite some time these type of vehicles, and particularly in a country like ours where probably 95% of the time you can just run them as a pure EV. But when you need to do that longer trip and you don't want to stop to recharge, you just run it as a hybrid and still get reasonably good fuel economy. So
that Sea Line that you and I drove, Graham, that's pretty much the perfect New Zealand vehicle.
I was just going to say,
and that's not even a modern one. That's old tech. The new tech coming through is just crazy.
We demonstrated that ably, and I agree. I think that the super plug-in hybrids are going to be the way of the future for New Zealand, at any rate, for quite some significant time.
Yeah. Well, I'm slightly scared because they've got the Sea Line 06 coming. Sorry, CL06 coming, which is a sedan and wagon version of the sort of similar to the Seal, with a plug-in hybrid drivetrain, 2,100 kilometers of range, which would mean going twice as far, ultimately, I suspect, by the time if you extrapolate out what we could do off one that had X range than what we did. And I barely survived doing what we did. So,
Oh, please, you were just fine. We just need to get some snacks in Timaru. And there's the challenge.
I should never go spend 2 days cooped up with a man and come out with a sore bottom.
That's a unworthy thought for a Friday morning, but there you go, Richard. For the record viewers, my bottom was just fine.
Yes. Anyway, on that bottom note, let's end that there. Thanks, everyone. We'll be back. Yeah, I'll be around. You guys be around next week? No?
Yeah. What else would we be doing apart from sitting here discussing the motor trade on a Friday morning?
Funny you say that, Graham, because Friday morning next week I'll be in Auckland and I will go from 100% retired to 95% retired because I pick up chairmanship of a little wee small company called the New Zealand Berry Fruit Propagators Company. It's their AGM and conference, and somehow I allowed myself to be talked into it. So, bit of fun.
The berry fruit, okay. That was on your list. Well done.
Well, I do have. My background initially is in horticulture and horticultural science, so it's not
right.
It's not a stretch. I have a master's degree in horticultural science, and I taught at university. And my parents were horticulturalists, and my wife works in the sector, so it's not strange. But being picked up really for my business skills to bring in, they've got a bit of a transition happening in the way in which they manage licenses and royalties for plant varieties. So. A bit of a challenge. I'm looking forward to it.
I'll ask the question because Graham will know what I'm talking about. Is this a direct ship that will actually be beneficial to you financially, or is it one where you end up almost paying more to do it for keeping your hand in, Graham?
Well, let's put it this way. It'll be enough to pay my annual insurance for my motorbike, my annual registration fee for the motorbike, and probably one sort of week-long motorbike trip. In terms of cash, but in terms of time put into it, if I was to charge my time, it'll be pretty cheap, yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And with that, if anyone wants me on a board, I'm happy to join your board. Just, reasonable fees, free fees. Right, we'll catch you on later.